By now, you have likely seen the reviews raving about how awesome the Star Wars Starcruiser is and how much of a loser you will be if you miss out on experiencing it. Then you probably realize those were all hype trailers as the real feedback started to pour in. As the first lookers started to show you everything that you can expect, you probably started changing your vacation plans, realizing that $6,000 might be better spent on something more worthwhile. Instead of giving us something good to start with, this attraction went full speed into the ground before even taking off. Let's take a quick look at how to do an attraction the right way.
You're invited to engage your senses, transport your spirit, and boldly go where no one has gone before. The 24th century is coming to the Las Vegas Hilton. Star Trek: The Experience. Feel the excitement as you beam up to the bridge of the Enterprise. Travel through space and time aboard a Starfleet shuttlecraft. And dock at the alien outpost Deep Space Nine for the finest in dining and shopping. Make your plans to be among the first in the galaxy to beam up to 24th century adventure. Star Trek: The Experience. Coming soon to the Las Vegas Hilton.
Wow. That trailer still brings the hype, and rightly so. Now let's look at Starcruiser.
For the first time, it's real. We've traveled to the far reaches of the galaxy. We got recruited by the Resistance. And now, we're ready.
Come on, Dad! We gotta go save the ship.
No. We're gonna save the galaxy.
Well, it tried. But did you notice how excited you weren't seeing a generic spaceship that probably wasn't even so much as a background piece in establishing shots? Like there couldn't even be a flyby of the Falcon or any other iconic Star Wars ship? The reason the Star Trek Experience trailer brings the hype is because you see the Enterprise, and the experience took place on the Enterprise. If Starcruiser took place on a Star Destroyer or Rebel blockade runner, it would have gone over all the better. I mean, even a bunch of Millennium Falcon hotel cottages would have worked better. We do need to establish some metrics before going too into this. There are some drastic contrasts that need to be addressed before making a fair comparison. Firstly, and most obviously, the price point. $5,000 to $6,000 would get you quite the experience in Vegas. I mean, I doubt someone would spend all of that at the Hilton where the Star Trek Experience was hosted, but even still, it's money better spent. Today's pricing alone is under $200 a night for a family of 4. And based on 2008 pricing adjusted for inflation, that leaves you with a $56 ticket price point, bringing your total Star Trek Experience vacation to $424 minus food and transportation costs. And of course, double that if you want to factor in the 2 days. Also, your ride ticket was good for both attractions open to close. Yes, you could ride it non-stop from the minute it opened to the minute it closed if you desired. Your ticket also gave you access to a museum of Trek artifacts, including uniforms, props, and all kinds of Trek lore goodies. So with the remaining $5,500, you can experience other Vegas attractions or go a little crazy in the various Trek shops and walk out with high-quality replica prop gear that you could not find anywhere else. Secondly, this compare and contrast is more to do with the end of the experience's life. Unlike Starcruiser, the original Star Trek Experience was actually good. Under the guise of a fun little shuttle ride, visitors were beamed aboard the USS Enterprise and taken on an adventure through time and space. Even the premise, though somewhat corny, was still fairly believable. You then get taken on a turbolift ride that almost ends in disaster and conclude by returning to the point of origin before being transported to the Enterprise in the first place. All in all, the experience was quite successful when it first launched, and only failed due to a myriad of bad decisions by executives. Starcruiser, right out of the gate, is already looking abysmal. And that's unfortunate to say that, because a lot of hard work was put into the art of the attraction. Like the sequels, visually this experience looks good all around, but thus lies one of many problems. It's based on the sequels, which have not been selling well for merchandise. In fact, to date, prequel and original trilogy merchandise still sells well, and The Mandalorian, being closer to the original trilogy, is arguably more popular, just like The Next Generation was better received than Star Trek Voyager. The Voyager experience had some nuanced concepts introduced, but that was likely what played into its failure. Similarly to the TNG ride, one of the good Voyager aspects was that it featured some of the show's cast members, including Kate Mulgrew appearing as Captain Janeway. Compare that to our Starcruiser, and we have a guy posing as Chewbacca, except it looks like he stopped at Lumpy's school project meth lab before boarding, and I mean, who can blame him? Other than Chewie, we have, no one. I guess Hondo, but he's technically not specifically attached to the Starcruiser, so he half counts. While Starcruiser has a lot of cool new technological marvels, so too did the Star Trek experience Voyager ride, and that didn't save it at all. The Voyager experience begins with you showing up to a space station on the edge of the Delta Quadrant. Unlike its TNG counterpart, this one just has you show up. No shuttle ride, no transporter, just walk in and you're at the Delta Quadrant. Starcruiser has this beat, as it does try to make the shuttle ride feel authentic, however unrealistically short it is. Meanwhile, in the Voyager experience, you meet the Doctor, reprised by Robert Picardo, who explains that you have been chosen for tests because you have resistance to alien viruses and therefore have been selected to participate in Project Resistance. Yeah, this is why you don't start with a concept and build a story around it. You write the story and trim in the limitations. Lo and behold, a Borg cube shows up because, as you all know, science is boring. Some uneventful pew-pew happens, and then you have to evacuate. It continues downhill from there as the actors overplay the emotion of the Borg showing up. Thankfully, they only go after Starfleet crew. Seriously, just one plant in the crowd getting taken away would have raised the stakes. The audience doesn't feel like they are in any real danger because they have plot armor. Things only get worse as the actors try to fend off the Borg with flashlights. Yes, not any kind of smoke and laser effect or some explanation of Borg dampening fields that render phasers useless. Nope, they fight them off with flashlights. Oh, but wait, there's more terribleness. To escape, you fly off in a ship conveniently designed with a giant screen in mind. Womp womp. The ride concludes with some late 90s 3D IMAX fan film grade plot where you get assimilated, but thanks to your resistance and Voyager, you escape and they blow up. Yeah, I had to write it twice to make sure it was bad. But that's not the only thing that killed the Star Trek experience. The introduction of financial class exclusive areas just made things all the worse. At the end of each ride, you are let out into the promenade aboard Space Station Deep Space Nine. I remember the first 2 times I was there, it had an upper level. It wasn't accessible or used for anything, but it made you feel like you were on DS9. Quark's bar was also redone almost to near authenticity. This is also where you found the gift shops with items ranging from reasonably priced comm badges, some of which I own, to authentic costumes for the higher priced and more dedicated fans. But of course that wasn't good enough, so the braindeads in charge of the experience decided to try and attract more money by paving over the upper level promenade and making it into the Captain's Table, an exclusive spot for the higher paying Trek fans to enjoy. Uh-oh. Credit where due for Starcruiser is their ripoff doesn't seat you away from the commoners. In fact, you get to flaunt your status in front of all of them and have more interaction with the actors playing characters you don't care about. Status in Star Wars might be something that you can get away with for a short while, but this was definitely a killer for Star Trek. You see, Trek fans, rich or poor, still believe in the idea that all humans are of equal value regardless of material wealth. Most people who would go to such an attraction would do so believing those ideals, as it is a core value of Trek. While some people may have indeed spent money on this, making such classist decisions in a series that preaches of striving for a utopia of economic equality isn't going to bring in the money. Neither will locking people up in a box for 2 days. Now I want to touch on the building structure. Some have been giving the attraction grief for being too concrete and prison looking. Sure, they could do with a nice coat of paint. However, I believe it was designed this way to protect the asset and possibly serve as a hurricane bunker in the event thereof. And that concludes all the nice things I have to say. I have included a link for an overview of the ride, which I encourage you to watch for yourself. The producer did a great job of going over the ride in enthusiastic detail. There is potential that Starcruiser could turn around, but more on that later. So Starcruiser takes you aboard, lets you get settled in, and then takes you to the main plaza where all the story stuff will happen. You meet the captain, Blueface McCarran, and of course, the First Order shows up and just suspects some things. They then join the trip, because I guess that's a thing. At this point, I'd be demanding a refund, as I don't typically vacation with fascists, let alone from space. Then you get to sample some food, which they give all these crazy names for, and even every drink has a backstory. The crew does an okay job trying to make it feel like you're in outer space, as you're asked to confirm you can consume the beverage. A nice little touch, but delivery is everything with a job like this, and if you don't embrace the lore, people will see that and lose their immersion quickly. I don't know about all of the activities, but there's a simulated garden where a space bum from Key West interrupts your relaxation with tales of wanting to be a famous space banjo player or something. He later shows up in the dinner show playing with generic Twi'lek singer, who, by the way, sings in perfect basic. What luck! The next day, you're given your chance to escape when you are sent down to not Mos Eisley for some Galaxy's Edge fun. Now this I want clarification for, because if selling my kidney also gets me an exclusive visit to Galaxy's Edge without all the other poor people, then that might make it a little more worthwhile. But from what it seemed, no, you are forced to mingle with the cheap bastards who only paid for a day pass, which again makes this experience all the lamer. Now my immersion is going to be broken by some kid noticing my exclusive armband and crying to their dad about why they hate being too poor to go on Starcruiser. Have I made my point with the blatant classism yet? Then it's back to your ship, for more activities such as learning to block lasers, which actually looked like someone was trying with that one. Other activities include safe space gambling, space dancing, space bingo, space spaceship model building. Oh, you thought this was going to function like a real cruise ship? To be honest, the accommodations would go over better on one. At the end of day 2, there's an epic battle between Rey Mary Sue and Darth Man-Baby. Rey bursts in, activates a lightsaber, and then has to swap it on the floor with one that can make contact. Like, there isn't a better way to do this? Or, have her cut her way through the door since she wasn't a registered passenger to begin with? Fight climaxes with Rey being force-pulled across a treadmill and Chewie pointing his prop at Darth Man-Baby, followed by a pew sound but no actual pew. And as predicted, the day is saved and Captain Blueface McCarran heroically orders all the First Order off the vessel. I don't usually like to swear in my videos, but in this case I need to quote a very wise man. Fuck off, ship! What do Starcruiser and the Voyager Star Trek experience have in common besides self-destruction? Galactic-level cringe and money better spent on a real vacation. At least Voyager had, obligatory like and subscribe, the alternative of going on a better ride, despite how dated it was. With Starcruiser, you're stuck, and I don't think this garbage scowl can afford refunds. All that said, here are my ideas for making it better. First, make the hotel function like a normal-ass hotel. It's fine to have all those events that kids can do, but this needs to be extended to 3 to 4 full days and have most of the activities be optional. Secondly, bring back the original trilogy. This ship should be redesigned to look more like a fat blockade runner than a generic transport. Also need more original trilogy characters, or at least have them show up via transmission and interact with the crew like in the TNG Star Trek experience. Make the plot more believable. Either cut down on the half-assed theatrics, or kick them into 11 and make the railings able to be cut through. Also hire an actual choreographer for your fight, if you're going to do one. Nothing looks stupider than a bad fan film grade fight. No, wait, I take that back. This is worse than most fan films as far as fights go. Point being, make this better. Lastly, make this more accessible to everyone. 6 Gs may be pocket change for some, but for others it isn't. At the very least, maybe add a lottery for people to win a trip on board after purchasing a park ticket. Isolating this attraction to the upper class will rub a lot of the less fortunate fans the wrong way, to the point where they won't care about Star Wars anymore. Assuming any longtime fans like myself even still do. I don't wish failure upon this thing. However, it obviously needs some tweaking. This attraction would go over well if it was built into an actual cruise liner. The current accommodations would be perfect for the cheaper windowless rooms while giving the bigger spenders balconies to look out onto the ocean. On top of that, you could lower the cheaper rooms to be even more accommodating for more fans. The activities would be more interesting and overall would make for a more fun and memorable experience. And honestly, Disney, if this was on a real cruise ship, I'd be planning a trip. But I'm not, because like the Voyager experience, your ride sucks, and I'm just as disinterested as I was when you announced it. And Paramount, you have an opportunity to resurrect a classic attraction, update it with newer visuals, and bring it to a new and old audience. Just don't screw it up and put a bunch of new Trek crap in it. I speak harshly because I care too much. I want my franchises to succeed and be good. But I refuse to embrace mediocrity and sell out for delusions of a product that could be much, much better. I know I came off harsh and all, but my point still stands.